She didn't know I was home. That's the only reason I saw it happen in real time. It was 6:47 p.m. on a Thursday. I remember the exact time because the notification was still on the screen. Uploading one of 4 to shared album, M_night out. She hadn't even closed the app. I was sitting in the dark, in the kitchen, lights off. Not on purpose, it just happened. I had come home early because my job canceled a late shift. I didn't text her. I figured I'd surprise her. Maybe cook something for once. Stupid, right? Instead, I walked into the sound of her phone buzzing on the counter. I looked down. The screen was glowing. For pictures uploading, 3 of which had already finished. She hadn't even used a password. I wasn't snooping. I didn't have to. The first photo was her, sitting on someone's lap at a bar, laughing, head back. The kind of laugh you fake when you want to be seen. The second was worse. His hand, whoever he was on her thigh, way too familiar. She was looking at him like I didn't exist. And maybe, in that moment, I didn't. The third was the one that cracked something in me. It was a mirror selfie from the bar's restroom. Her lips were smudged. Her necklace was backwards. And in the background, barely in frame, was a man adjusting his belt. And then, the door opened. She walked in laughing, on the phone, saying, "No, he's totally clueless. I told him it was just a night out." He said, "Make it count." She didn't see me right away. She was too busy tossing her heels off and dropping her purse onto the couch. And I just sat there, still in the dark, still watching the screen, uploading 4 of 4. The moment she finally saw me, the color drained from her face. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just reached for her phone on the counter and tilted the screen toward her. "You made it count," I said. "Now let's make it official." She stammered, asked how long I'd been home, if I'd seen anything, as if she could undo it by talking fast. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was already writing the text that would change everything. Not to her, to him. Because if they were bold enough to post the lie, I was ready to post the truth. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't have a clever strategy. There was no script, no mastermind plan. I was just a guy sitting in his own kitchen, holding a phone that still smelled like her perfume, watching the pieces of his marriage slide off the edge of a cliff in real time. The guy in the photos? His name was Kellen. I found it at the top of her text thread with a heart emoji next to it, like a digital slap in the face. I didn't even know a Kellen existed, but apparently he had existed for a while. Long enough to have hundreds of messages, voice notes, and even a screenshot of a hotel confirmation she'd booked with our shared credit card. You'd think I'd be furious, right? But in that moment, I was oddly calm. I opened my contacts, found his number. She had saved it as Kellen, work, and I typed the simplest message I could. "She's home. I saw everything. You have 10 minutes to tell your wife, or I will." Then I hit send. She was pacing by now, pale, barefoot, rambling on about misunderstandings, and I didn't mean anything by it. As if people accidentally slide into hotel rooms, giggling in selfies and kissing strangers in public places. I didn't respond to her. I didn't have to. Her phone lit up a minute later with a panicked message. "Kellen, did you send her anything? Please don't. We can fix this. Please." I didn't answer. Instead, I opened Facebook. Found Kellen's profile. Opened his tagged photos. His wife's name was right there in the comments. "Great family dinner tonight. Love you, babe." Her name was Danica. I clicked, typed, and pasted 4 photos. The ones I'd just watched upload themselves like poison into the cloud. I added one sentence. "I thought you deserved to know who your husband really spent Thursday nights with. Check the timestamps." My finger hovered over the send button. I looked at Marla. She was now sitting on the floor, legs folded, head in her hands, whispering, "Please don't ruin everything." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "No, you already did that." Then I hit send. I wish I could say I felt powerful, triumphant, like some warrior of justice in flannel pajamas. But honestly, I felt hollow, like I had just signed away the last 7 years of my life with a thumb tap. The next minute felt like static. Marla grabbed her phone, probably to warn him, but it was too late. She gasped. She actually gasped when she saw I'd already sent the pictures, like she couldn't believe I had the spine to do it. And then, the first explosion came. Her phone buzzed, and buzzed, and buzzed, and then rang. It was Danica, and Marla, God help her, actually looked at me and said, "What do I do?" I said nothing. I just stood up and walked past her. And as I did, I could hear her answering the call, her voice shaking as she tried to lie her way out of a hole that was too deep, too exposed, and way too late to crawl out of. She should have thought about that before she told me. It's just a night out. Because now it was a night she'd never forget, and neither would he. I didn't stick around to listen to the full conversation, just the beginning. Just enough to know Danica was smart, sharp, and absolutely furious. She didn't scream like someone who was hurt. She screamed like someone who'd been lied to for years and just realized her whole marriage was a setup. I heard phrases like, "How long? You coward," and "in our house?" echoing through the phone before Marla's hand started shaking and the phone slipped out of her grip, crashing to the tile. It didn't break. I wish it had. She looked at me like I had thrown it, like I had started this chaos. But all I did was tell the truth, something neither of them had tried doing. I walked into the living room and sat down, not even sure what I was supposed to feel. I stared at the blank TV screen while she scrambled to pick up her phone, clutching it like a lifeline. She was frantically texting, then deleting, then calling Kellen over and over. He didn't answer. He was probably too busy watching his life collapse the same way mine had 10 minutes earlier. I heard her sob, a sharp inhale, then the kind of cry you only make when reality punches you in the gut. She fell to her knees, begging me to talk, to explain why I would drag innocent people into this. Innocent. She actually used that word. I turned to her, exhausted, and asked the one question that had been stabbing my brain since this all began. Why him? She blinked, confused, like she didn't expect that question, like she'd rather I yelled or threw something than ask her that. She said nothing, just stared, and then, without warning, she got up, walked to the bedroom, and slammed the door behind her. I sat in silence, the kind of silence that vibrates in your ears. And then I heard it, movement in the hallway closet. Something light, fast. She came out with a small duffel bag, unzipped, half-packed with clothes and toiletries. I said nothing. I just watched her zip it shut, gripping it like she didn't know if she was leaving for a night or forever. She finally spoke. I need space. Just a couple nights to think. Please. I laughed, not out of humor, just stunned disbelief. You already had your night out, Marla. How much more space do you need? She didn't respond. She just walked toward the door, and then paused, like she wanted to say something else. But nothing came. No apology. No confession. No explanation. Just that hollow stare that told me whatever part of her I married was gone. She stepped outside, into the night, and the door clicked shut behind her. I didn't chase. Instead, I walked back into the kitchen, picked up her phone from the floor, and opened it again. She hadn't changed the password. There, in the deleted messages folder, were dozens of texts she must have erased in a panic. But she forgot to clear them completely. What I found next made everything that had happened so far look like a warm-up act. Because Marla wasn't just cheating. She had been planning something far worse. The moment I opened her deleted messages, I felt that same sick pull in my gut. The kind of instinct you can't shake, like you're about to open a door you'll never be able to close again. But I had to look. I needed to understand what I was really dealing with. At first, it was more of what I expected. Flirty messages with Kellen, little lies about our marriage, her calling me controlling because I once asked her not to go drinking on a Monday night. But then, I hit a thread that made me go completely still. It was a conversation with a contact saved as Z. No name, just the letter. Their chat went back weeks. Longer than her thing with Kellen. It wasn't romantic. It was cold. Calculated. Like they were planning something. Z, he still has no idea? Marla, none. I'm making him look like a paranoid idiot. Z, good. Keep the paper trail clean. When it's time, you'll need it. Marla, already done. Got voice memos of him raising his voice. Sounds bad out of context. I felt like the floor dropped under me. I don't raise my voice. Ever. I can't even remember the last time I argued with her. But then it hit me. She'd been recording me. Twisting things. Maybe even baiting me into saying stuff that could be spun to look like I was abusive. Setting a foundation. For what? And then I saw the message that made my hands go numb. Z. Make sure the timing lines up. You file after the incident. That way the sympathy's yours. Marla, don't worry. I'll leave for a night or two. Make it look like I'm scared. He won't even know what hit him. I leaned back from the counter, heart hammering in my chest. This wasn't just cheating. This was a setup. A calculated character assassination. She was building a case against me in secret while laughing in my face over dinner. While I folded her laundry. while I apologized for being too boring lately. And she almost got away with it. She thought I'd be asleep when she came home, that I'd keep being the same passive, clueless guy I always was, that she could disappear for a night, come back, and start phase 2 of her plan. But she didn't count on the upload getting caught mid-send. She didn't count on me being home early. She didn't count on me seeing her mask fall before she had time to readjust it. I needed to act fast. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for her to make the first legal move. I grabbed my laptop, opened my cloud backups, and started pulling every file, message, and document I could find. I needed proof, not just of the affair, but of the trap. And I had it now. Screenshots, metadata, deleted messages recovered from her phone, even a few voice memos she must have forgotten to erase. I emailed everything to myself, then to a friend I trusted who worked in IT, then to my brother. I wasn't going to be painted as the villain in a story I didn't even agree to be in. And just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Z I hadn't seen before. Z, clock's ticking. Make your move before he finds out what's really coming. I stared at that message for a long time, wondering what really coming meant. Because apparently, I hadn't seen the worst yet. I don't know how long I stared at that message from Z. Before he finds out what's really coming. Those words kept circling in my mind like vultures. What was really coming? What hadn't I seen yet? I stood there, in the kitchen, my hands shaking. Not from rage, but from that deeper, colder thing that settles in when you realize someone you trusted has been playing a long, quiet game with your existence. This wasn't just betrayal, it was erasure. I opened her banking apps. She never used mine, but we'd linked accounts years ago for rent and bills. The moment I logged in, my chest locked up. 2 weeks ago, she'd opened a personal checking account, transferred $8,000 from our shared savings. It was done in small amounts, $300 here, for $150 there, disguised as payments to vendors I didn't recognize. I cross-referenced the transactions. A fake flower delivery service, a bogus dog groomer, and then a transaction that made my jaw clench, a security deposit on a condo downtown, listed under her maiden name. She was moving out. Not escaping. Planning. I checked the lease date. It started in 4 days. 4 days. I started opening everything. Emails, cloud docs, her Google Drive. She didn't log out of anything. She must have assumed I'd never look. But I found a file buried deep in a folder called tax stuff. It was a scanned PDF of a drafted restraining order, blank, unfiled, but ready to go. I couldn't believe my eyes. Her name was on it. My name was on it. The accusation? Verbal intimidation, unpredictable behavior, and emotional instability. There were bullet points, written like a checklist, specific examples that were completely fabricated or wildly twisted out of reality. She had dates listed, places we'd been, entire fake arguments typed out like she was writing a short story. She even mentioned witnesses, Sam and Haley, of course, the 2 friends who always thought I was too intense. The ones who encouraged her to take control of her marriage. She was going to move out, file this, and probably serve me with papers before I even knew what hit me. Maybe she'd take the house, the dog. Maybe she'd even try to freeze our accounts or accuse me of something worse. She'd clearly been laying the foundation for months. And here I was, vacuuming baseboards, making her coffee, wondering if I was the problem. I sat down, hard, on the edge of the couch. My mind wouldn't stop racing. All the little things I brushed off over the last 6 months suddenly snapped into place like jagged puzzle pieces. The fake arguments she picked. The way she would ask bizarre questions like, "Why do you always look so angry?" while I was literally reading a book. The weird voice memos she recorded when we were arguing. Those weren't to remember how she felt. They were evidence. I was never supposed to find any of this. And the more I dug, the more I found. She had a draft of a divorce petition already started. There were emails with a lawyer. I even found a resume, hers, updated, sent out to companies in cities I didn't even know she wanted to live in. Like she had already begun her new life. Without me. And the final nail? A message from Z, sent earlier that afternoon, before she left for her night out. Z, it's all in place. He'll never see it coming. You'll be out and clean in less than a week. Stay focused. Stay focused. She was preparing to disappear from my life like I was some stranger she'd outgrown. Only it wasn't clean. It wasn't quiet. and it sure as hell wasn't going to be easy for her anymore. Because I wasn't the same fool who watched her walk out the door in silence an hour ago. Now I was awake, and I was going to make sure the truth came out. Loud, clear, and undeniable. It was 2:14 a.m. when I heard her key in the lock. I didn't move. I stayed seated in the living room, lights off, laptop open, waiting. I'd been sitting there for hours, compiling every file, every screenshot, every voice memo and document she never thought I'd find. Not out of vengeance, out of survival. The door creaked open. She stepped inside quietly, probably hoping I'd be asleep. She tiptoed, like someone breaking into their own home. I heard her breath hitch when she saw the light from the laptop screen reflecting off my face. She froze in the doorway, holding her heels in one hand and her phone in the other. Her eyes scanned me, then the screen, then the pile of printed documents I'd stacked neatly on the coffee table beside me. She opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off. Don't lie. Just sit. She didn't. She stood there like a deer caught in headlights, still trying to figure out what version of herself she should become. Remorseful wife, confused victim, or cold strategist. I know everything, I said calmly. The messages, the money, the condo, the fake order, your little escape plan, and your friend, whoever Z is. Yeah, I've got them too. I could see her trying to calculate, to weigh whether it was better to deny, to cry, or to flip the script. She chose denial first. Predictable. That's not what you think, she said. It was never about hurting you. I just needed. Don't. I snapped sharper now. You needed a clean exit, right? So you could leave looking innocent while I got painted as unstable? While you took the savings, the house, and probably the dog, too? That one hit. She flinched. You were going to file a restraining order against me based on staged fights and edited voice memos. I continued. And guess what? I've got the originals. All of them. I pulled them off the cloud. I've got timestamps. I've got logs. And I've already backed them up to 3 places. Her expression changed again. The fake innocence slipped. For the first time, I saw her real face. Cold. Flat. Unapologetic. So what? She said finally. You think this makes you the hero? You think you'll win some moral trophy because you caught me before I could leave? I stood up slowly. No, but I'll make sure you don't get away with rewriting the truth. You don't get to destroy my name because you got bored. Her face twisted, just for a second. She looked like she wanted to scream. Instead, she threw her bag on the floor and marched toward the bedroom. I'm not doing this right now, she muttered. I'll get my stuff in the morning. I followed her down the hallway and leaned against the doorframe as she started yanking clothes off hangers. I already filed an incident report, I said. Not about you cheating. About the fraud. The stolen funds. The fake identity you used to lease the condo. It's all documented. I emailed it to my brother and my lawyer. If I disappear, if you try to flip this on me, anyone touches that folder and everything goes public. Every detail. She stopped packing, and that was the first time I saw fear. Real fear. She turned toward me slowly, like she finally understood the script had flipped, and she wasn't the one holding the pen anymore. You're bluffing, she whispered. I didn't say a word. I just tapped a key on the laptop in my hand and watched as the backup upload to a private Google Drive completed in real time. She stood there frozen, breathing shallowly. I walked past her, out of the room, and sat back on the couch. My heart was pounding, but my voice stayed steady. I'm giving you 2 options, I said. You leave quietly. No drama. No lies. And you don't touch a cent of what's left in our accounts. Or, you go through with your little plan. But you'll lose everything. And you'll do it publicly. She didn't answer right away. She just stood in that hallway, cornered by her own game. Her power had evaporated. The illusion was shattered. And for the first time in this whole mess, I could breathe. But I wasn't done yet. Because the biggest twist? I hadn't even told her what else I'd found. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even lie down. I just sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the dim blue glow of my laptop screen while she sulked in the bedroom like a trapped animal, defeated but still dangerous. Every hour or so I'd hear her pacing, whispering into her phone, probably calling Z, or whoever else was part of this twisted game, trying to salvage something. But there was nothing left to salvage, not after what I uncovered next. While she stewed in silence, I kept searching, not because I needed more evidence. Honestly, I had enough to blow up her life 3 times over. But something didn't sit right. There was this persistent itch in my brain, something that kept nagging at me. A loose end I couldn't quite name. It wasn't until I went back through her cloud storage that I saw a folder I'd missed before. It was tucked inside another folder labeled taxes_2021_backup. That was her style. Hide things where I'd never voluntarily look. The folder was password protected, but she used the same 3 passwords for everything. I cracked it in under a minute. Inside were 6 videos. I didn't want to click. I shouldn't have clicked, but I did. The first video was shot from a phone, shaky and dim. Marla was in the frame. She was sitting across from a man I didn't recognize, early 40s, clean-shaven, wearing a dress shirt and that kind of smug expression people wear when they think they're invincible. He wasn't Kellen. He wasn't Z. They were in a restaurant booth. From the audio, I could tell they were in public, but what he said made my blood run cold. So, if he pushes back, we leak it, the man said, stirring his drink. You cry. We win. She laughed, and said, he won't push back. He's spineless. I'll just show up with the papers, and he'll roll over. They toasted. They toasted to ruining me. Another video, dated 3 weeks earlier, showed the same man handing her an envelope. She didn't open it on camera, but I could see the corner of a check inside. Her voice was low, hushed, but audible. This covers the lawyer's retainer. I'll get the rest once the accounts are split. Wait, what? That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about getting away. This was a scheme. A scam. She was planning to legally destroy me and split the winnings with this guy. He wasn't just some fling. He was her business partner in a full-blown setup. Kellen was just the cover story. The decoy. This was the real betrayal. I watched every video, each worse than the last. They had it all planned. The lies. The financial bleed. The restraining order. Even which of my friends she'd preemptively warn, so they'd take her side when it all came crashing down. I was the target of a coordinated takedown, and she thought I'd never even notice. At around 5:30 a.m., she walked out of the bedroom, looking disheveled but calm. Too calm. I think we should talk, she said softly, in that fake therapist voice she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. I didn't move. Instead, I turned the screen toward her, played the video. Her face collapsed in on itself. All the color drained. Her jaw twitched, and for a full 10 seconds, she just stared. Who is he? I asked. My voice was low, flat, detached. She didn't answer. Who is he? She blinked fast, tried to speak, then turned around and walked straight to the bathroom. Locked the door. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. I had it all. Not just the betrayal. Not just the setup. I had the entire operation. And the final move was now mine. She didn't come out of the bathroom for over an hour. I could hear her breathing hard through the door. No crying. No apology. Just panic. The kind that comes when you realize you were never in control. You were only playing pretend. And the board flipped before you could make your move. When she finally emerged, her mask was gone. No more fake softness. No more explanations. She looked at me like she hated me for surviving her plan. For not being the man she could walk all over. I stood by the front door with her suitcase already packed, carefully, respectfully, but with finality. You need to leave, I said. Today. She didn't argue. She just nodded, picked up the bag, and walked out the door without saying a word. Not one. But I wasn't done. I filed everything. First with a lawyer, then with law enforcement. Fraud. Conspiracy. Identity manipulation. I handed them the videos, the messages, the bank records. I showed the attempted setup. My attorney was stunned. Said she'd seen divorces get messy, but never this calculated, never this close to criminal. And Kellen? Turns out his wife Danica had already blown the lid off that side of things. She contacted me, and we compared stories. She was furious, but also grateful. She never imagined her husband's affair would lead to uncovering a full-on legal scam. She ended things with him immediately, and together, we shared all the information we had with the right people. Marla's friend Z turned out to be a lawyer in training she met in an online forum. Someone who coached women on clean exits from marriages, no matter how much truth had to be bent in the process. He's now under investigation, and my lawyer says Marla could face serious consequences for falsifying documents and conspiring to commit financial fraud. But here's the part one didn't expect. Freedom felt light. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I could wake up and not feel that sinking pressure in my chest, That weird guilt I couldn't explain. Because now I knew I wasn't the problem. I was just convenient to blame. I sold the house, moved out of the city. I took a new job, still in tech, but smaller, more human. I joined a hiking group, something I never would have done before. I stopped apologizing for being quiet, for being cautious, for caring too much. And the best part? 6 months after the whole thing exploded, I met someone. Her name's Ray. She's not flashy or loud. She reads more than she talks. And when I told her what happened to me, she didn't flinch. She just listened, really listened. We don't rush anything. We take things slow. Because after nearly losing everything to someone who wore a mask for years, I'm finally learning what real feels like. And it's not drama. It's not manipulation. It's not walking on eggshells or proving your worth every single day. It's peace. So yeah, she said it was just a night out. But that night out, it gave me my entire life back.